Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an Awards Watch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at Awards Watch, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Get your hammers out.
Oh my God.
It's time for the final film in our Lynne Ramsay series. We're talking You Were Never Really Here. I guess this is probably the most commercially successful. I don't know though. I actually don't know.
Do you want me to look this up while you're?
Do you want me
to look this up?
Please do look it up. Yeah, but it's we're talking You Were Never Really Here. This is certainly the most movie star driven. We've got Joaquin Phoenix sort of at the peak of his I can get an indie movie made if I want to powers, although I guess they might even be greater now because of a little film called Joker. This is the Joker.
Yeah.
But this is a movie. It's a recent film that certainly, I mean, it held a lot of weight the year it came out.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that Lynne Ramsay kind of keeps getting moderately bigger budgets than the film that came prior. And that's about it. You got the box office info?
I do. So this movie made $9.4 million. It is her number 2 because we need to talk about Kevin made $10.8 million.
Man, just
on a $7 million budget. That's what
these are blockbusters.
Yeah, this was it doesn't, I don't have the budget for this film. All I know is that it made 9.4.
So Lynne Ramsay's career box office haul is about 20 million.
Yeah, because the first 2 films made like $800,000 a piece. And so, yeah, we're talking about like the budget of Jordan Peele's Us, $25 million. Does that make sense? Yeah. But it's not always about box office.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
Like that.
Her movies have made a combined $20 million.
Yeah, but it's not always about the box office, is it?
No, it's not at all by any stretch of the imagination.
But it is fascinating in the scope of things of just how.
That is such a small number.
It is. It'll probably be the smallest we ever do on this show.
The Flash made like $50 million in its opening weekend, and people were like, well, movies are dead. I mean, obviously, we need to blow up the theatrical experience.
Well, clearly that was Ezra's fault. So
we need to talk about Ezra.
No, we don't. We did that last week.
No longer.
We're here to talk about.
You know what is really a fun thing is we'll probably never talk about Ezra Miller again.
Yeah, I don't think the Zack Snyder series is ever coming soon. So if you're a listener,
I actually love that. I love that.
What that
Ezra Miller, get out of here. You're done.
You just kind of like, oh, you like the idea that we're never going to talk about somebody ever again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly Ezra Miller.
Yeah, that's fair. No, it's all fair. I didn't really ever think about it like that, but yeah, they're not going to make anything worth us to ever bring up again.
Not going to do it.
But you know who's somebody that we will probably talk about a lot is Joaquin Phoenix. Because Joaquin likes to work with some auteurs. And boy, did he work with an auteur here in Lynne Ramsay. Her follow-up to We Need to Talk About Kevin, released in the U.S. 7 years later, was the talk of Cannes. She won the screenplay award at Cannes for it. Joaquin won Best Actor at Cannes. It's a big deal. Also, it's like in this stretch of time for Joaquin Phoenix, where I wanna maybe propose this up at the top before we get into the film. And it is about Joaquin. Is he consistently a top 5 actor working today in the business still? Like, is he like a go-to, like you can rely on him in almost every project to deliver, even if the project as a whole isn't great, like Joker or something like that? He's gonna put himself in there,
deliver, and for the most part, he works with good, interesting filmmakers. I mean, Joker, you look at Joker, which is now going to be his legacy, frighteningly.
It's kind of sad.
But you totally understand why he would take that role. He is a performer who likes to go. He likes to go one of two ways. He'll go very, 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 very big, or very, 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 very small.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an example of the latter. But he's fantastic. His
run.
Look at his
run since like 2010 has been extraordinary.
But even before that, I mean, I think he's great in Gladiator. I think he's great in Signs. I think he's great in The Village.
Yeah.
I mean, my kind of underrated gem of his, which is more recent, is The Sisters Brothers. I really like that movie.
I like The Sisters Brothers.
He's done some great movies with James Gray. Speaking
of working with Lynne Ramsay collaborators, John C. Reilly's great in The Sisters Brothers. He's really, really good in that.
Yeah,
movie.
that's Lynne Ramsay. Does that movie exist without Lynne Ramsay? People are asking.
That movie comes out this same year, in 2018.
Oh, that comes out the same year as this.
Yeah. Sisters Brothers, one of the first ever episodes that Jay and I ever also podcasted.
One of the first movies we podcasted about. I really like that movie.
Me too. But yeah, I mean, like his stuff. I mean, there's clearly a giant, I think, pivot in his filmography, and that's when he starts working with PTA, and we'll get really into that in the next series.
Yeah. How you feeling about Joker Folie à Deux?
You want my opinion? Really?
Yeah.
I could give a rat's ass about that movie.
You know what my opinion is?
I think it's such a cash grab.
I'm kind of excited to see it.
Why? Because you think it's going to be a train wreck?
Are they making it a musical? I mean, that sounds kind of interesting.
I mean, yeah, but it's just going to be a ripoff of New York, New York. I'm not interested in Todd Phillips.
What movie do you think Joker rips off the most? Is it Taxi Driver or is it King of Comedy? Because I think it is thematically and stylistically Taxi Driver, but plot-wise, it is the King of Comedy.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, and I think Joker, it's like Todd Phillips watched Taxi Driver and didn't get the point. Like, I think that there is this perception about Taxi Driver, like just from the You Talking to Me stuff and what it's, essentially what Travis Bickle's character is on paper. But that movie is much more nuanced when you watch it and much more complicated by its end. It's such a fascinating film. It's why it's one of the greatest films of all time. But yet it's been taken by dum-dums like Todd Phillips and ripped down to it's just been sort of saturated is the right word. And
what's your fave Scorsese?
Oh, it's good. I mean, it's Goodfellas. That's the one of the most rewatchable movies ever. And it's a perfect movie.
I've become,
but I'm a big guy on
Casino brained.
I'm big on Age of Innocence. I'm big on King of Comedy. You know me. I'm the only guy.
Aviator. You're the one.
Big Aviator guy. That movie just rules.
I feel like that was your favorite for a while.
Oh no, it wasn't my number one. No. That'll always be Goodfellas. Like, I know it's cliche. Sometimes I say this on the main show, and I say this to you a lot. Sometimes just the cliche is the right answer. You know,
you are totally right about that. Because there are times where I say
we're like trying to pull ourselves, but it's like what's
I would love to be original, but I got to be true to myself.
Well, also like too, it's before the internet and all that stuff, and you watched. That was your gateway drug, and it's always the one you go back to.
Although I do think, I think Casino has become my favorite.
Casino's great.
Casino is like,
I've been thinking a lot about. I've been thinking a lot more about Silence, and I rewatched Irishman, and it's fantastic.
The Irishman is one that has really, really held up. Silence is still not one of my favorites of his, but
I can't wait for the Joker movie where he starts ripping off Silence. That'll be Last Temptation of Christ. That'll be.
What if Martin Scorsese directed Joker 3?
Then I think that would be a really fascinating conversation for all those people to have questions about online.
Then I think it would be a question of, has Martin Scorsese been replaced by an AI and been held captive?
It's kind of like that thing of like, people thought that Paul McCartney died and has been replaced by like a robot or like a clone.
Him and Avril Lavigne both.
Yeah. So that would kind of be like what that would be. No, it's never going to happen. I always love that like Scorsese was supposed to produce Joker and then he just didn't do it. And then they asked him about it
if he watched it, and he's like, I watched like a little bit of it. I got it. I get what he was going for.
But also they asked him like on a round table why he didn't do it. And he's like, I was busy doing The Irishman, which is like, for most producers, you don't have to be there if you don't want to, especially for like him. Because like he's producing Maestro for Bradley Cooper. I'm pretty sure he wasn't on set. You know what I mean? So it's just a way for him to be like, I don't want to fucking do it.
Transformers movie. And also what Scorsese does that is so admirable is a lot of the times he'll put his name on the movie to give it the credibility so that he can give the director final cut.
Yeah, I think he's done that a lot with Joanna Hogg.
Joanna Hogg, the Safdies.
Ben Wheatley, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Ben Wheatley, director of the Meg 2.
Hell yeah. Good for him. But no, how do we get on Scorsese?
That's a good question, because Joaquin Phoenix has never been in a Scorsese movie.
He actually would be really great.
He was in Joker, though, which is based on the works of Martin Scorsese.
And Joker then is a movie that kind of rips off a lot of the characters that Joaquin Phoenix has played in previous films. And one of those is You Were Never Really Here. So there you go. That's how you tie it all back together. Because I feel like this is like an amalgamation. Like that performance is amalgamation.
This is mostly going to be a Joaquin Phoenix episode.
And The Master, which is a movie I'm not going to talk about, because we'll talk about that here in like a month and a half.
Paul Thomas Anderson, next series. Next
series. Well, we did spoil that over at the top of the series,
but let's just say it again.
Or at the end of our, I guess
people in the back.
We spoiled it at the end of the Denise series, not in
the last episode of Dune.
But yes, we are doing Paul Thomas Anderson on the next series, and I'm looking forward to it. Just like I've been really enjoying this series.
Yeah,
short, but we're going right into PTA after this. And we will talk twice about Joaquin Phoenix back-to-back films in that series with The Master and Inherent Vice. But we're here to talk about You Were Never Really Here, which stars Joaquin Phoenix as the lead of this film. Really,
that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. I mean, there's Judith Roberts and John Doman and a couple of unknown actors, but the movie is directed by Lynne Ramsay. It's about a traumatized veteran, unafraid of violence, who tracks down missing girls for a living. When a job spins out of control, Joe's nightmares overtake him as a conspiracy is uncovered, leading to what could be his death or his awakening. Jay, this movie came out in 2018. That's when you and I first started podcasting, buddy.
Wow.
So this is, that year is very special to me because I met my podcast co-host here, who I love working with and I consider like a brother in real life. And, but you and I never talked about this movie.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a Harley Quinn to your Joker.
I mean, we're kind of on the same level, I would assume.
The Lady Gaga to your Joaquin Phoenix. That's what I am.
You're Lady Gaga and I'm Joaquin Phoenix?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I feel like I'm more Gaga, but okay.
No, I'm more of a, we're both agents of chaos.
Yes, I would. We're definitely in that, especially when we have guests on. I don't think those guests know what's coming. But anyway, it's the last film in Lynne Ramsay's series. And I'm curious about it because we've never talked about it before, even though I think I kind of know your grade for this because it came out that, like I said, in that year, then we first started doing shows together. But let's talk about it. What did you think of on the rewatch of You Were Never Really Here?
Yeah, this was the only Ramsay film I had seen before we started this series. And it was a movie that I respected very much, but couldn't entirely vibe with. And I liked it more on a rewatch. It was very refreshing after seeing We Need to Talk About Kevin.
It's a good palate cleanser.
It is. And I think what this movie does well that I feel like We Need to Talk About Kevin kind of wanted to do is it leans into genre. It becomes a movie that is much more detached from reality than any of her other films. It brings to mind Nicholas Winding Refn, really, is kind of what it does. It becomes this, but much more emotionally grounded than those films. This is a very minimalist film about death and destruction and the toll that killing people has on a person. And again, as with every Lynne Ramsay film, it becomes about the shadow that looms over a person from the impact of their parents on them. Whether that's physically, emotionally, whatever it may be. We get consistent flashbacks to Joaquin Phoenix's childhood in this film. And the Jonny Greenwood score here is a huge asset for the movie.
Yeah.
It's just it is really kind of a stylistic marvel. It really does feel like the only person who could have made this movie is Lynne Ramsay, which is so interesting because her first two movies are so stripped down. And then for me, We Need to Talk About Kevin kind of feels like this awkward middle ground, whereas this one thrust itself into the world of American genre filmmaking, but with her unique emotional sensibilities. So I really, really like this movie. I think I still like her first two movies best. We'll talk about that at the end of this episode. But I really like this movie. It's totally captivating. It's it's short, which is awesome. And it doesn't overstay its welcome. And if it was 2.5 hours long, I don't think I would like it as much. But its achievement in brevity can be a real asset to a movie, and I think it really is here.
I think that this movie is really good. And I think that you are absolutely right that this is the perfect film to kind of wash away the bad taste of We Need to Talk About Kevin out of your mouth. And I find it a really interesting exercise in, you're right, going into genre, going into more heightened, definitely understanding this world, but really looking at trauma and violence through a male perspective. And the first time I think she's really dived into that.
Yeah, this is her first male-centric film.
Well, I mean, she does have an adult male, let's say that, because James is the lead of Ratcatcher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's a totally different film, even though that is talking about childhood trauma there, right? This is a movie that is, I think, one of the most fascinating, like, little subgenres are these crime films where you are looking through the lens of the killer, of the thief, of the person in demand, right? Jay calls to mind, like Michael Mann's Thief, or it calls to even up to something like that's coming out later this year of David Fincher's The Killer. These movies where these guys are good at their jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And the majority of these movies, you see them, they're made by male directors. They star a very charismatic lead, and they do have it doesn't always go right for them, but ultimately they get the one up because they're just damn good at what they do. And you don't really dive a lot sometimes into the, I think, really emotional spaces and vulnerability of being a person that is assigned to rescue kidnapped girls or kidnapped people. You have to be a blood kind of, thirsty person, and also have to be a pretty cold person. And not many people are like that in this world. And I think Lynne Ramsay does a fantastic job of exploring what it is like for Joe to be as vulnerable. It's not just as simple as, oh, he used to be in the army. This is, like you're mentioning, there's those scenes when he's a kid, his childhood, how everything in his life, he's walked into this, but it almost is like a predestination to get there. That's what I felt like. And I think Phoenix is extraordinary in this movie. I think he's always extraordinary. He's one of my guys. He is a guy that, yes,
he's one of your guys.
Yeah, because I think that when he's locked in, it's kind of hard to stop. It's kind of hard to stop him.
He is committed, for sure.
So committed to his roles. And I do agree with you. Like, Joker, whatever. Who gives a shit? Like, he's fine in Joker. My problems with Joker are not him,
Yeah,
I think he can go from playing someone as intense.
Although I think Joker kind of indulges his worst impulses.
Well, it's because he has somebody behind the camera
that's so big.
It has somebody behind the camera that doesn't rein it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he can go from playing this very visceral role to then being in something like Come On, where he's
great in that,
or in Her, where he's vulnerable in a different way, and he's soft spoken and romantic and puts a smile on. You know what I mean? And in this, he's so brutal and
put a smile on like Joker.
Yeah. Okay. All right, stop it. But I don't know. I when I was watching this movie, also too, this thing is lean and it's mean and it's 90 minutes and it moves and it just doesn't stop. And I think that
but it's very sad and violent and fascinating.
It's super violent. It's super fascinating. It's super interesting.
It doesn't move like
it also is not. It's also not trying to be bigger about, because obviously human trafficking is an issue that it can be very big, but it's also an issue that can also feel very small and just to this story in this world, right? And
this is not about a movie about human trafficking.
No,
this is a movie about the mundanity and mind-numbing simplicity of Joaquin Phoenix's life.
Yes, and his profession is I wouldn't say it's secondary, but because it's the root of a lot of the issues, but the past and everything catching up to it. It's very fascinating.
Oh my God.
Decentralization? Sensitizing?
Mystification. Sure, I'll call it the demystification of the life of a hitman. Sure.
Yes. It's taking all the fun out of it.
It subverts every kind of Hollywood trope when it comes to the life of a hitman.
Yeah, and I think it's
makes
brilliant.
It seem miserable.
Yeah, because it probably is.
Yeah,
and I think that's brilliant, and I think her direction. This is her second best film, in my opinion. I know we're doing rankings later, so
after Kevin.
Yeah. I think this is kind of extraordinary, and it shows, at least for me, not that she needs to learn any lessons, or it showed that she restrained it back and took it back to the form before Kevin. And she really just made a really tight, confident film and didn't try to go broad, because I think when she went broad with Kevin, that's where the script and everything sort of falls apart in the story. Make it grounded, make it about Joe, make it about this job, make the rules pretty and the world of it pretty limited to everybody that we see in the film. Don't have any outsiders, and just kind of go from there. And by doing all that stripping back, the nuance is bubbling over the top. And I think it's a really great film.
And it is specific, but it does have these echoes of other movies. You feel the old boy influence. You feel even the influences of something kind of like Heat, where you have this professional who is supposed to detach himself from the implications of what he does for work. But in this, he's not in some beautiful Hollywood Hills condo. He's living with his mom, who seems to kind of hate him. And he's so disturbed in many ways by the people that he has to confront and what the people he has to confront are doing. And that results in some very effective sequences of him justifying his existence by saving the people who have no opportunity to save themselves. And it is powerful, but it's not like he gets an incredible amount of satisfaction from that, because his job is not to save the people. He is making a living off of eliminating the people that have kidnapped the people who need to be saved. And it's that kind of dichotomy, this idea of he's not the good guy, he's just killing the bad guys, that seems to kind of eat away at him. And he's just the middleman. He's the middleman with this big old beard and no direction and no human relationships. He is his job. And
the only human relationship he has is with his mom.
With his mom, who is a bit incapacitated. She's
very codependent, a bit
on him. Senile. Yeah. And then obviously later in the film, spoiler alert, when his mom gets killed, that's like the ultimate breaking point for him. And him finding that, the way that is shot visually, where all that he sees is the hole in the pillow over her head.
Yeah.
It's that great understated Lynne Ramsay stuff that I'm so glad she got back to.
Well, I think also that, and then it's that tilting point, but then when he breaks down at the house, right? Because he gets in there and finds the room and everything and just has a mental breakdown. It's not just, obviously he's like a traumatized vet and the situation, because they've put out a hit to kind of, because he gets hired to find the daughter of this senator, right? And
it's very Man on Fire.
Yeah, it's very Man on Fire. And then he finds her, but then somebody's hired then to grab her and then eliminate him, because he's the middleman. And then he kind of is killing his way in to survive. But at the same time, everybody is around him that he's known, whether it's his boss or like just the guy he had at a meetup that he at the supermarket or whatever, or his mom. Anybody that came in close contact with him are sort of eliminated. They're loose ends, right? People that would remember him. And I think all of that loss and all of the weight of his job and how he treats people, because there's also there's something weird, almost like hilarious, but then also like deeply disturbing when Joaquin Phoenix yells at people in movies too. And when he punches that one guy and says, "Don't make me wait for it." You know what I mean? Or, you're putting me behind.
Whenever he's yelling at people, it almost feels like he's yelling at himself too.
Yes. Yeah. But when he breaks down in the bedroom and takes off his shirt and it's just a puddle of himself,
and he's looking thick. Joaquin looking thick in this. He's
Which
normally a little skinny boy.
Yeah, he's normally on the verge of like a skeleton.
Malnutrition. Yeah.
Yeah, like a skeleton in a classroom, you know?
He looking thick.
He put on, which honestly, I'd rather somebody be like that than the skeleton body. The skeleton thing just, like the Christian Bale of it all. You know what I mean? Like
we're about to do The Master, and he looks like a skeleton in that movie.
I mean, no one will ever be Christian Bale in The Machinist, though. That is
no
unholy.
That was very explicit. That was the whole thing with that movie. Was look at this. He was basically a carnival attraction in that movie,
and he had just did American Psycho
or Hunger. Michael Fassbender.
Oh. Well, Hunger is purposeful.
Yeah.
Well, I guess The Machinist is perfect because he's like an insomnia. Yeah, but that's Hunger. That actually happened. That's
Hunger feels inevitable in a way that The Machinist kind of doesn't.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about Freddy.
We'll talk about Joker during our Todd Phillips series.
God, that would just be a series of movies that just haven't aged well.
That'd be a crazy one.
Yeah, you want to talk about the Hangover trilogy?
War Dogs.
Oh, that's right. He did War Dogs. Old School, right?
He did Old School,
which is essentially his version of Animal House.
Yeah, Old School's not bad.
It's not bad. Not great.
Scared to watch it again.
Yeah, I'm scared to watch any of those movies again. Those comedies. Because 9 times out of 10 they don't age well. Comedies, man, comedy is just so hard to do comedy.
Yeah, much like the comedy You Were Never Really Here.
Well, I wouldn't call this a comedy, Jay, but
interesting.
I don't know. What do you think of the dynamic that he does have with the girl in the film? And that feels that's a little Taxi Driver-esque also as well there too.
It is Taxi Driver-esque, but it's not creepy in the way that
it's not creepy. It's not like a relationship there. No. I'm just saying.
No. It does feel like him finally feeling like he has a purpose is what it feels like. And
yeah, it feels like he's like, because his mom's gone and she's being essentially a pawn in this very dangerous situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels as if he is saving her from the same life that he had lived for such a long time. Does that make sense?
No, it's very much about exactly what you're saying. Well, there's kind of two sides of it. One, he doesn't want anyone to have to live the life that he has lived, but that is sort of a product of his socioeconomic upbringing. But here, she's the daughter of a senator, and his idea on that is, because of your upbringing, you have been introduced to this world of complete evil and corruption and violence and sexual violence.
Yeah.
And it is kind of this unspoken horror in this film, what these people are doing to her, and certainly because of who she is, that it does become this is one of those films in the way that I think her first two films are, Lynne Ramsay's films. The impact of them comes from not giving you the specific details visually of what's going on. And in this film, it's all about this person who's trying to, in his mind, earn his keep by doing something good in a life where he has done so much bad. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a powerful idea.
I do think it is really powerful too. I mean, he's trying to turn from, a violent hammer to a guardian, a protector in a different way. And I think the violence is so fascinating, so brutal in this.
It is, but the ball peen hammer is a really interesting tool to give him, because it is this more blunt force trauma weapon. It's not a gun.
No,
it's a lot more personal than a gun.
It's
but
a
it's
lot.
also more blunt than a knife.
It's
That
it's
it's interesting.
it's also. I mean, when you're saying it like that, that sounds like it's very on the nose. And
A lot of Lynne Ramsay's imagery is on the nose,
but
but
you
it's
know what though?
effective.
But it's the way she does it, right? And it could be great because you're talking about a blunt force weapon that
Mm-hmm.
has a singular purpose, and there's no nuance to that when a human being picks it up and looks like him and acts in his profession. There's he's not going to build a house with it. You know what I mean? Beat the shit out of somebody. It's going to most likely kill him. And it a knife or a gun is not going to get the message across, right? As what his character is supposed to be. And yet you can tell from the trauma that he's faced in his life, it's the only this is the only thing that he knows how to do. And even when like he's in his meeting with like the guy that connects him to all these assignments and stuff like that, right? He's sitting on the couch and he's laid down, but he's uneasy. The whole movie has these flashes of just his uneasiness and the way he's talking to himself, right? And telling all these voices in his head to shut up. And it's just, again, in this movie, you can feel as if maybe that is a lot you're putting on the audience and saying, man, you're really putting Joe in a place where he's in a very brutal world, but his mind and who he is beating him up a lot. But it's very unlike, I think, Tilda in We Need to Talk About Kevin, because I think in this movie, Jay, you find so much sympathy for Joe and where he's at and how the world has used him as a hammer to beat people over and over and over again. And I don't know, for me, I found massive sympathy by the end of this movie, and much more than I did the previous film. So
Yeah, it feels like it really does feel like a correction from a wrong turn.
yeah,
And we need to talk about Kevin, right? Yeah,
which is funny because that movie was so damn celebrated, right?
it was, and in many people's minds, I still think that's their favorite movie of hers. But you have the very, very stripped down first two films, and then she gets involved more in the kind of American studio system, or at least the American independent studio system. And she makes this film that to me feels more heightened but less honest. And in this, she makes a film that feels even more heightened than that one, but feels more honest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that kind of balance, I think, is really what makes this movie as good as it is. And that comes more than anyone. It comes from Lynne Ramsay, who really sets the tone of this film. This is, I've said before, kind of in our episodes, I say, what's the job of the director? Tonal control to me is one of the most important things a director does when they're on set. And this movie is so singularly focused on a particular tone and a particular idea, and this idea of revenge as not only sort of a hollow enterprise, but a life as a contract killer, as an empty one. And this realization that the reason that he has had to kill all of these people before is because of the evil that they are perpetuating in the world, and him reckoning with that is such a powerful thing.
But I think also too, even in that revenge and killing all these men, right? Because that's the whole thing is about this senator essentially hires to get all the loose ends, so he decides to enact this revenge, not knowing what happened to the girl. But it becomes personal, and it becomes a matter of survival too, because if they tied all the loose ends and he's still left out there, there will always be that uneasy feeling. And I think that's why the final shot at the end, or one of the final shots at the end of the film is him and the girl, right? The senator's daughter, Nina, because he's taken her and he's saving her, right? And she goes to the bathroom, and I'm curious what you think of his dream sequence there, right? Of essentially killing himself in his mind.
The final scene in the diner.
Yeah, and because and then of course you find out it's all just kind of in its head and everything. Is it him killing that version of himself and killing that loose end that he would do himself in his job? Is that the fear that someone could be around the corner at any moment to get both of them again, still, that they'll be on the run for a while? Is it just a violent episode again of just that, something that's always going to be inside of him, that he's always going to have to wrestle with? I don't know what it is. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to know that the violence will always still be normal too, because there he is lying in a puddle of blood, right, in that sequence, and the check is still delivered normally at the table with blood drip, or the blood from the hand of the waitress there too onto the check. So I find like that the idea of violence in this movie is always lingering, regardless if peace is found, regardless if there is a moment to breathe. There's always an incident where that violence could be around in every turn, especially for somebody in this profession. And we've seen that many times before, but it's the way that Lynne Ramsay shows that in that diner sequence. I think it's like, okay, at that point they're essentially in the clear.
Like they won.
Yeah, but how much of it is really a victory, right?
It is that, this idea of how much am I really winning when this is just a job that people are paying for and they don't care about me whatsoever. And also my mom is dead, and it's very reminiscent of the ending of Ratcatcher, really, where it does seem like there is some sort of gold at the end of this rainbow, but Joaquin Joe's obsession with auto asphyxiation over the course of his young life, this self-harm that has been such a focus of his existence now, and that goes into his professional life, right? Like he's taken on a job that, while not necessarily physically self-harming at all times, is certainly mentally scarring. And all of these acts that he is doing in the name of money and trying to make a living, these acts are heinous and scarring and traumatic. And it does feel like for the first time he's done something truly good and just, and something that he could be proud of, and because of that he can finally have this release. But also not really. It does feel like this moment of pure catharsis, and Lynne Ramsay portraying catharsis as suicide is a really bold choice, and a very Lynne Ramsay-esque choice.
Well, it's the second time she's alluded to it, right? Because in Ratcatcher, it
becomes this fantasy drowning sequence.
Yeah, and this is more fleshed out. Like they get up from the diner, and it's more explicit. He also gets up from the diner and they leave. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that there's a question of it.
Yeah,
You know what
it's
I
more
mean?
explicitly violent and also more explicitly not real.
Yes. And yet there is it's one that lingers because it leaves you as an audience member knowing that, yeah, they're walking away and they got away with it, but the danger's still in there. It's still internal as well as chasing them. And it's going to be like that for a while. And this isn't the last time that they're going to see blood and this harsh world. They live in a harsh world.
Mm-hmm.
They are devoid of this version of it, but there's always versions of it because they're drawn to it in a way, almost. And
Well,
he's been drawn to it his
sign
entire
yourself
life.
over to this life,
Yeah, it
there's no really
finds
going
you.
back.
Yeah, it finds you too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And everything will be like a threat going forward.
Yeah, they're kind of exploring the same thing in Barry, a very different kind of
Yeah,
show, but
man,
a
that's
movie
man.
about kind of how this life perpetuates and you can't really escape from it.
Did you like the finale of Barry?
Haven't seen it.
You haven't watched the last season?
No, haven't watched the last season.
Are you going to watch that? Unlike with the last two seasons of Mad Men?
I'll watch both of them when I get there.
How dare you? You're the
I'm
one.
bad at watching TV. I'm great at watching movies. I'm bad at watching TV.
This is hypocritical of you because
As the ultimate completist.
no, well but for years, first couple of years that I knew you, you're all like, dude, get on it and watch Barry. And I've seen
you're right. I did
all of Barry, and I even wrote a review up on the website for the last season.
Yeah.
And I lapped you.
I was the Barry proponent.
And I lapped you on that. That is insane.
You did.
Also, too, a finale that I think would absolutely, I have to talk to you about one day.
Yeah, I haven't seen all these Bill Hader directed episodes that everybody's raving about.
I mean,
apparently he's retiring from acting and he's pulling a peel. He's just going to direct stuff now.
Did he say he's retiring from acting?
Yeah.
When did he say that?
During the press tour for Barry.
I don't remember him saying. I feel like that'd been big news.
I
know he's going to make a horror or he's going to make like a movie. Was it a horror movie?
I think he's trying to move into that world. It feels very Jordan Poole.
You mean Peely, not Pooley.
Not Pooley.
Jordan Poole is a basketball player.
Jordan Peele.
Peele is a director. He's got the chops. I'll give him that.
Although Jordan Poole got punched in the face, a very horror movie thing to do.
More action
by
movie.
Draymond Green.
That's yeah, and talk about the existential dread that's inside of all that. That's for sure.
Draymond Green does feel like a slasher villain, though.
He really does. No, for sure. But I don't know. Feels like we talked about all of this. Yeah. Is there something we haven't talked about yet? I mean, besides also, I think for her movies that have been pretty silent or using of needle drops, the score in this movie is incredible by Jonny Greenwood.
Incredible. This has been a shockingly, after our kind of out there intro here, a shockingly streamlined episode because we don't have a ton of actors to get into. It's such a stripped down movie that it's made for a stripped down ep.
Is Greenwood the best composer we have working in modern film, or your favorite? I mean, let's say favorite. I won't. Best is different conversation, but is he your favorite? Is he up there?
He's definitely up there. If you're asking me, like, which composer I see as composing a score for a movie, and I'm most excited about,
I
think it's still Nicholas Britell right now.
That's a good answer.
I think Britell has kind of taken the throne, although he has done some kind of anonymous stuff.
Yeah.
Recently. But he does a Barry Jenkins movie. I'm like, yes, please. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think it's Greenwood because he can do like this, and then he can do like Power of the Dog. Even a
Yeah.
movie that I
No, I
don't
mean,
love,
Greenwood's a
like
genius.
even a
Radiohead is one of my
movie that
favorite bands ever.
I don't love in Spencer, his score is still really inventive there. And
That score and the cinematography in that movie, it completely overwhelms that movie, but in a vacuum, they're 10 out of 10 incredible.
and then of course all the stuff
The rest of the movie doesn't live up to it.
yeah, and then of course everything he does with PTA, which we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. But no, I love the work here. I think it propels the movie forward, especially on Joe's journey into this sort of dissenting violence and I don't know. I think Joaquin there's just something about, something about Joaquin Phoenix. There's always this interesting vulnerability mixed in with then massive confidence. Like when he's driving away, right, from to his mom's house after he knows what happened, which also the editing in this movie is insane. I think that the great edit where he's thinking about Angel and he's calling Angel, and then there's the shot, then right back to the same shot with the gun pointed at his head, as well as the kid that works in the shop there as well with him. But there's always just like that face that Phoenix has there, someone that is running out of energy or running out of time, and it's so frantic, but it's so good. And then the minute he sees his mom, like you mentioned, then that all that worriment just goes away, and he turns into this robot that is just an unstoppable force. And I think it's just a damn good performance. It's a damn good movie.
You see that flip switch with him in a very powerful way.
It's just damn good, lean, mean movie. And yeah, I really enjoy it. And I think that it
feels so purposeful at every turn. Just so fully realized.
It's back to form. That's why I'm so curious to see what she does next, because if it's in like this, it feels like, okay, Kevin was, something, you can't fault the director for trying something new or being, gone for the game for 9 years. And this is what, 7 years.
Yeah.
And she just comes back, and it's sort of just like a return to being in that commanding sense of just being overwhelmed with tense dread. And
she could do Ant-Man 4 if she wanted to.
Well, she's doing, isn't she? She's doing a movie with Jennifer Lawrence, right?
That has been the rumor for a long time. I don't know what the traction on that has been.
I'm looking it up right now because she wants to make a new film. She's got like 5 films. So Polaris, okay. So this is a movie in post-production. This is her next film. It's called Polaris. And it's not with Jennifer Lawrence. It's with Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara. Set in Alaska.
They're familiar with each other.
Yeah. Set in Alaska during the 1890s, an ice photographer meets the devil. Well, that's just fascinating.
Sure. Her and Terrence Malick can make their God and devil movies.
She's also got in development or in pre-production a revenge thriller called Stone Mattresses. A revenge thriller set on a cruise ship in the Arctic. It's based off a Margaret Atwood short story.
Arctic vibe.
Julianne Moore and Sandra Oh are attached, and Die My Love is the film in pre-production. That's with Jennifer Lawrence. In a remote, forgotten rural area, a mother struggles to maintain her sanity as she battles her psychosis. Yeah.
I'm guessing one of those gets made, and it's the one that's already been made.
She's also got another movie. She's got 5 movies that she.
I mean,
Those two I said, the Stone Mattresses and Die My Love, those are in production. Polaris is supposed to come out next year.
Yeah.
That's in post. So she will have a new movie. At least probably 2 new movies in the next couple of years.
Jennifer Lawrence, she's in an interesting place. Did you see No Hard Feelings?
I did see No Hard Feelings.
It's good.
See, we need more movies like that.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's like a masterpiece.
It is not a masterpiece,
but
she gives a freaking movie star performance in that movie.
She goes all out.
Yeah.
She's bearing it all.
She is literally and emotionally.
It's an interesting film. I think it falls apart in the last 20 minutes.
I'm just glad to have her back.
I am too. I think she's got such a presence. And, you know, you and I were talking about this offline of just like people, directors that aren't, you know, like the late, great William Friedkin. They don't just say whatever comes off their mind and do it in such an unabashful way of just being like, I don't care. I'm a human being. Like everything's not like done by a PR machine. And for a long while, that's what made Jennifer Lawrence what she was like she wasn't afraid to.
She was kind of unfiltered.
She's unfiltered and very vulnerable, and I think she still is like that, and she doesn't have to be because she's one of the biggest stars on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie was a little bit of a modest hit, and
I will tell you.
Yeah, I hope she makes more movies.
When I saw the trailer for that movie, I said that will do okay in theaters. It is going to destroy on VOD, and it has. It has.
Not every movie needs to be a hit in the theater. Some of them, like
Northman,
I was going to say that
video on demand.
That movie that's how he made his next movie. That's how he's going to make his next 2 movies. Is that movie did and still does wildly successful on VOD.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
He's in the good graces of studios despite that movie bombing at the box office.
And also him talking a lot of shit about that cut of that movie.
The entire process of making that movie.
True. Yeah. And yet he's like, and then they're like, you want to make Nosferatu? And he's like, nah, fuck it, why not?
Northman rocks, by the way.
Yeah, it is pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. Anything else when you never really here?
No, not really. Good movie. Good career.
Good child performance.
What Lynne Ramsay does next. It's a barely existent child performance, but yes, it's a good child performance.
Well, it's better than the last child performances that we got in the film before.
Well, we're going back to Ezra. Do we need to talk more Ezra? No, we do not. I think we have said our piece on Ezra Miller.
Mm-hmm. Jay, before we get out of here,
mm-hmm.
Do you want me to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just watched? You were never really here?
I would love if you did that.
In a segment we like to call It's an Honor to Get Nominated?
Yes.
All right, Jay.
I'm guessing this got nominated for 0 Oscars.
You're correct.
Yes. So Lynne Ramsay has been nominated for 0 Oscars.
Correct.
Lynne Ramsay films have been nominated for 0 Oscars.
Correct.
Yeah.
She was nominated for a BAFTA for Outstanding British Film for this movie.
Which, of course, takes place in New York City.
Yeah, but she's a UK artist. Yeah. It was like I told you earlier, it was nominated. It was one of the nominees for the Palme d'Or at Cannes, which is big. You know, Palme d'Or is a big deal. It won the screenplay prize, but it did not win picture. It won Best Actor for Joaquin Phoenix. Would you like to know the film that beat it?
I would love to.
That was the first film that Ruben Östlund won the Palme for. It was for The Square.
Khan's favorite director.
He's won 2 Palme d'Ors. He won for Triangle of Sadness
Mm-hmm.
last year. 120 beats per minute was up for the Palme d'Or. Happy End from Michael Haneke. Okja from Bong Joon-ho. The Beguiled from Sofia Coppola. Good Time from the Safdies. Todd Haynes. This was the year Todd Haynes had Wonderstruck there, also up for the Palme d'Or.
Our least favorite Todd Haynes movie.
Yeah. Oh, no. Not
my
mine.
least favorite.
Your least favorite, not my least favorite. My least favorite is Velvet Goldmine. Meyerowitz Stories, Baumbach, and your favorite Lanthimos, Killing of a Sacred Deer, which was nominated, which was also a co-winner with Lynne Ramsay for Best Screenplay. Love Killing of a Sacred Deer.
How did this do with the Movies for Grown-Ups Awards?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm going to see if it was part of the AARP Awards. I kind of doubt that it made it there, right? Wouldn't you say?
The dark film for the retirement crowd.
Do you think that they would give it to to Joaquin because he's Joaquin Phoenix?
It's possible.
I'm looking here. This is fascinating for podcasting purposes.
It's good podcasting.
It's a good podcast. It was nominated for Dublin Awards, Austin Film Critics Society, Online Film Critics, National Board of Review is one of the top 10 independent films of the year. It was nominated for the Film Independent.
No AARP awards.
It doesn't sound like that. It was nominated for a ton of Film Independent Spirit Awards.
Mm-hmm.
But it lost. Joaquin Phoenix was nominated for Best Male Actor. No, it won Best Editing at the Indie Spirits.
Okay, very well edited film.
Joaquin Phoenix lost Best Actor to Ethan Hawke for First Reformed.
Good call.
And Lynne Ramsay lost Best Feature and Best Director to Barry Jenkins and If Beale Street Could Talk.
Good call by them.
The 5 films that were nominated were If Beale Street Could Talk, which was the winner, First Reformed, You Were Never Really Here, 8th Grade, and Leave No Trace. It's actually a really good lineup.
Might be the worst of those movies.
No, I think 8th grade.
Probably better than 8th grade.
8th grade. But then Leave No Trace is an extraordinary film. And First Reform. Leave No Trace.
My number 2 film of the 2010s.
Yeah, that's right. And Beale Street, obviously.
Great.
Beale Street, my number 2 film of that year.
Would this make your
10
best picture list? I don't think it would make mine.
No, I don't think so. But it's in my top 20. Yeah, I think it's in my top 20 of the year. Would you put it in your top 20?
Yeah, I would say top 20.
In like the 16 to 20 range.
Yeah.
Totally deserves to be there. It's a good film to represent there. Would you nominate this for anything? Would you nominate Joaquin?
Give me the best actors for this year, and I'll see if I can swap anybody out.
Oh, you're going to want to swap out. Because we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the main show for the 2018 lineup. So if you want to hear and go back there, you can totally listen to that episode. But I'll give that lineup to you, Jay, because you weren't on that episode.
Mm-hmm.
The best actor winner was Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody.
I mean, a masterful performance.
Christian Bale for Vice, a movie
they're on a heater.
A movie I know you despise. This Vice. Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate. Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born.
Okay.
And Viggo Mortensen for Green Book.
Man, that is an abysmal lineup.
Would you keep Cooper in there? Because I know you love
I love that movie. I love that performance. So yeah, kick everybody else out for
Except Cooper.
4 Joaquin Phoenixes.
So you would probably
Cooper, and then Cooper wins.
And well, you would probably. I doubt that Cooper would win in a normal lineup for you. You would give it to Ethan Hawke.
Well, yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but in your lineup, you would put in Joaquin Phoenix for this.
If I was doing just my 5, let's see.
And you're putting in the account, and you're taking out.
These are the films of 20...
The purpose of this exercise is for you, Jay, to call out the Oscars and to say your piece to get it right. That's the purpose of this.
Look, I would love if they didn't give Rami Malek an Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Did you ever see that?
Bo Rap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I kind of feel like you just skipped it on principle and we never talked.
No. I saw it.
And you don't like it?
No. I could probably put Joaquin in the 5.
Okay. Who else would you put in there?
I would go
4 spot.
Hawk, Cooper. I'm going Steven. Does Steven Yeun count as a lead in Burning?
I distinctly remember you giving him supporting that year.
I think I do too.
Yes. So no.
Okay.
But it's pretty close.
Redford, Old Man and the Gun, throw him in there.
Oh, what a performance. Ben Foster?
For what?
Leave No Trace?
Oh. Well, it's definitely I'm fine with that. I got no beef with that. That's fine.
Man, that's an all.
You know, I might want to throw in there.
Ooh.
A little Giamatti, Private Life.
Oh,
that is
what a gem!
Wholly underrated, underappreciated movie.
Yeah, as a parent, I bet that hits differently when you see it, right?
I actually haven't even seen it since I've been a parent, but I remember seeing it the first time and just thinking, what a knockout that movie was.
That movie's pretty incredible.
Catherine Hahn is unbelievable in that movie.
I distinctly remember you.
I was an advocate.
The year that came out that you liked that, but also I remember in your Best Actor lineup, maybe it was me or maybe it was you. I don't know, but I distinctly thought you put Tom Cruise for Mission Impossible Fallout in that lineup.
I might have done that, and he's worthy of that. Yeah, I did do that, just sort of encompassing. It's not all about saying words on a screen.
Well, right? It's also about. And also, he does give legitimately really great.
And he does in that, but he also does so much other stuff too.
Yeah, well, a lot of other films too.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Cruise is a very good actor.
He's pretty good at his job. That Tom Cruise.
He's very good at his job, and so is Joaquin Phoenix in the film You Were Never Really Here.
So is Lynne Ramsay for the most part.
Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about Lynne Ramsay. What are our grand Lynne Ramsay thoughts?
I think she's a really great visual artist that, when focused, delivers extremely effective mood pieces that have moments of just striking visual brilliance.
Dark beauty.
Yes. And I think that if she's got 5 films in production and we get 2 of those in the next 8 years, I think the world needs more films from Lynne Ramsay. Is what I would say by the end of this.
I agree.
And I think it's a travesty that 25 years went on and we only got 4 damn movies. Yeah.
Really crazy.
But it's funny that she has 4, she's made 4 movies, but she's got 5 in development, with 3 of them with scripts already ready to go.
I'm skeptical. We'll see.
She's got superstars attached to him. Oscar winners.
That is the thing.
Yeah. That's big. That'll get you made nowadays.
It will. I mean, it's I wouldn't say Lynne Ramsay is one of my absolute favorites at this point, but
damn it, those movies aren't interesting.
She is
You'll be there.
really,
You'll be there opening weekend.
Oh yeah, 100%. A really unique sensibility, a really unique point of view. Her obsession with childhood and how it forms your adulthood, I think, is really insightful. And she's a great visual stylist. She's shown an adaptability from this really naturalistic, almost documentary like approach from her early films to this hyper stylized world of You Were Never Really Here. I would almost like her to kind of retry one of those smaller, more naturalistic movies. But three out of four of these movies I'm really all in on. So yeah, give me more Lynne Ramsay. I'm really glad we did this series and I watched those earlier films.
Me too. I'm really glad that we did this, and I hope our listeners have really enjoyed these 4 weeks and really have dived into some very heavy films.
Yeah.
But I'm also really glad that they got to enjoy Freebie.
I love Freebie. If nothing else, I discovered the magic of Freebie. And I think it's time at this point to do something that art was intended to do. Well, we're going to rank art, which is the way that you should treat art.
That's what we did with Villeneuve.
We do it every time, and it's a thing I love to do. Mm-hmm. Rank Lynne Ramsay's films.
Are we going to have the same ranking?
No, we're not.
We're not.
No.
Would you like me to go first this time?
I know what yours is going to be, but yes, you can go first.
Okay, I'm going to go from least to best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my number 4 is We Need to Talk About Kevin. Mm-hmm. Stayed on the last episode. Not a fan. What'd you end up giving that as a star rating?
2.
That's what I give it as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is Morven Caller. Nice 3.5. Solid.
Mm-hmm.
Love that conversation, by the way.
Yeah.
2 is You Were Never Really Here. It's this movie. 4 stars. Letterbox. Really like it. Number 1, Ratcatcher. I'm at a 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
But our conversation might have bumped it.
A 5?
I'm threatening
a 5er?
Threatening?
5er is a big deal.
A 5er. It's a really great movie.
It is. I agree.
It's fantastic. I think I'm going to keep it at 4.5 for right now. But I'll think about it.
So we've got the same pieces of bread on the ends of our sandwich here, but we've got
got the meat.
Swap the middle too.
Swap the meat and the cheese.
I've got we need to talk about Kevin at number 4. I have You Were Never Really Here at 3. I have Morven Caller at 2. I think that movie is like astoundingly effective.
Well, that hits you in the face. That movie smacked you around.
Yeah, especially when the Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates commercial came up in the middle of it.
Is that
Freebie?
Is that probably one of the most unique things that's ever happened to you?
I think it's the funniest thing I'll experience in a movie this year.
In a first-time watch?
Yeah, including in theaters. It's funnier than anything in No Hard Feelings, which is a very funny movie.
Yeah.
And then number 1 is Ratcatcher. I think kind of without a doubt. I think it separates itself from the rest of her films. It's a phenomenal movie.
Honestly, a movie I kind of want to rewatch. No.
Yeah, the one thing about Lynne Ramsay movies, so rewatchable.
Not really, but
it's like watching Ocean's 11.
It's a plane movie. We're talking about plane movies. About plane movies.
Yeah.
So, all right, buddy. Well, do you want to tell everybody out there where they can find you and all your work?
Yeah, you can find me on Letterboxd. Just search J Ledbetter. Find me on Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. Find me next week on this podcast. We're talking Paul Thomas Anderson. Holy moly.
We're
doing it.
We're doing it.
And find any of my other work at AwardsWatch.com.
You can find me on Twitter, Letterboxd, and Instagram at Ryan McQuade77. You can find all my work here at AwardsWatch.com. If you like podcasts, Jay, and I know you like podcasts,
I'm a big
go ahead and listen to the main show. We release episodes every Monday.
Yeah.
While you're at it, if you like this show, if you like the main show, if you just like us in general and think we're pretty cool, 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Important. It's very important that you guys do that.
5 stars.
We like 5 stars. You can, you know what? In the 5-star review, you could rank your rankings of Lynne Ramsay's movies. We'd love to see it inside
that'd be fun.
The 5 stars. Yeah, we'd love to see it. Or if you hadn't done it in the past, put your Denis Villeneuve
or your
Todd Haynes. Put your rankings in there and say how your rankings rank up better than ours. But put them in the 5-star reviews. We'd love to see them. We'd love to read all those. I'd also love you to go over to the website, sign up for the newsletter. It's where you can get all your podcasts, reviews, interviews, news, all that stuff throughout the season. AwardsWatch.com. We'd greatly appreciate it if you could go and sign up for the newsletter. Jay's right. Lynn's done. We'll see Lynne probably next year when we do a one-off episode for her, for Polaris. But next week, we start
a big
one. It's a big series. Might be the biggest one we've done so far.
Yeah.
We're doing Paul Thomas Anderson, PTA.
Ooh, baby.
First film is Hard 8. We're doing all of them. 9 weeks. A lot of fun to be had. We'll be talking about that with the man who wrote a book on PTA. He'll be our guest. Literally. Mr. Ethan Warren will be joining us for that Hard 8 episode. And we will have a guest, as of right now, on every episode for the Paul Thomas Anderson series.
Wow.
It's a pretty big deal. And I'm not tooting my own horn when I will say there are a lot of great guests. Every one of these people.
There are. Ryan has been putting in the work.
I think you guys will really enjoy this. We're really excited about it. It's going to be some great conversations. We're looking forward to it. But until then, we'll see you all next time.